The wind moved through the trees. It was a quiet night in a small town in the Midwest. The stars were bright and the roads were empty. Ethan, a young botanist, walked home from the university lab. He enjoyed walking at night. It gave him peace. But this night was not like others. A loud noise broke the silence. It sounded like thunder, but the sky was clear. Ethan looked up and saw a bright light falling from the sky. It moved fast and crashed into the woods near the old greenhouse. A glow lit up the trees for a few seconds, then faded. Ethan ran toward the crash. His heart beat fast. He passed the trees and reached the place. Smoke rose from the ground. In the middle of the small crater, he saw something moving. He stepped closer and stopped. A figure lay in the dirt, glowing faintly. It was not human. She was tall and had smooth silver skin that changed colors in the light. Her eyes were large and clear like glass. She wore a suit made of strange, soft material. She was hurt. Ethan moved closer, slowly. She looked at him. Her lips moved, but he heard no words. Yet somehow, he understood. Her name was Saralith. She was not from Earth. Ethan helped her stand. She leaned on him. Her body felt warm and light. He led her to the old greenhouse near the edge of town. It had been unused for years. No one would come there. Inside, he made a bed of blankets and gave her water. She watched him, confused but calm. Slowly, she spoke again. Her voice was soft and musical. She said she came from far away, from a place called Valari. She had left her world to find something. She did not say what. Ethan asked nothing more. He saw pain in her eyes. She needed rest. As she slept, he stayed nearby. He did not understand what was happening, but he felt something new. It was not fear. It was not excitement. It was something quiet and deep. The next day, he brought food. She could not eat it, but smiled to show thanks. Her body healed quickly. In 2 days, she could walk without help. She looked around the greenhouse with wonder. Ethan showed her the plants. She touched the leaves with care. She asked simple questions. What is rain? Why do birds sing? Why do humans laugh? Ethan answered as best as he could. She listened with great interest. He learned more about her. She was a princess, born to rule. Her people lived for thousands of years. They had no wars, no hunger, no sadness. But they had no love. She had seen something in a vision, a face, a feeling. It led her to Earth. Ethan was quiet. He did not know what to say. He was just a man who studied plants. Odd. But Saralith looked at him as if he mattered. He had never felt that before. Days passed. He taught her about human life. She watched people from afar. She liked children, flowers, music. She said human hearts were loud. He did not understand at first. Then one evening, she placed his hand over her chest and said, "This is what I came to find." He felt her heartbeat. It was fast, like his. They sat in silence. The wind moved the trees again. It felt like the world was holding its breath. Ethan did not know what the future would bring, but he knew the crash that night was no accident. It was the start of something rare. And in that quiet greenhouse, among old vines and broken glass, Saralith walked through the greenhouse, touching the leaves with care. She was healing fast. Her silver skin was softer now, more human in color. Ethan noticed how her glow faded with time, but her smile grew warmer. One morning, he brought her a scarf. She wrapped it around her neck, laughing gently. Her laugh was strange, but full of joy. Ethan smiled back, even though he felt nervous. He had never been close to someone so different. They started walking outside at night when the town was asleep. Saralith loved the stars. She said they felt like home. She spoke about her planet. Valari was full of light and order. People lived long lives with no sickness, but everything was chosen for them. Even love. She said she never wanted that life. Her family had picked a man for her to marry. She refused. She said her heart showed her another path. A new world. A human voice. A name she could not speak. But now she believed it was Ethan. Ethan did not know what to say. He was just a simple man. He worked with plants, read books, and lived alone. But Saralith looked at him like he was something more. He felt strange. He felt seen. He told his friend Claire, a small part of the truth. He said he met someone who needed help and had no place to go. Claire had known Ethan for years. She trusted him. She asked no more questions. Claire brought blankets and clothes for Serelith. When they met, Serelith bowed her head. Claire felt something she could not explain. A calm, deep feeling. She hugged Serelith and said she could stay as long as she needed. Serelith spent more time watching the town. She stood near the trees and listened to the sounds of life. Children laughing, dogs barking, a song from a car window. Everything was new to her. One evening, she asked Ethan why humans cried. He said it was because they felt pain, or joy, or both. She nodded and looked up at the moon. She said her people had forgotten how to cry. Far away in a hidden base, people were watching the sky. A man named Agent Lyle looked at strange readings on a screen. A power surge had come from the forest near Ethan's town. It was not normal. He sent a team to investigate. Serelith felt something strange one night, a sound deep and sharp that others could not hear. She told Ethan someone was coming. Not from Earth, but from her own world. She said they would take her back. Ethan asked if she wanted to go. She shook her head. Her eyes were full of fear. She said if they found her, they would erase her memories. She would forget him, forget everything. They made plans to leave the greenhouse. Ethan knew a small cabin near the river. It was old but safe. Claire agreed to help. She brought supplies and gave them her car. Before they left, Serelith touched the walls of the greenhouse. She whispered something in her language. Ethan did not understand, but he felt the meaning. Goodbye. That night, in the hidden base, the team found signs of movement, heat trails, footprints, broken branches. Agent Lyle watched the screen with cold eyes. He said, "Find whoever is out there. Bring them in." In the cabin, Serelith sat by the window. She was quiet. Ethan sat beside her. He held her hand. Skin was cool now. Her glow was almost gone. She looked at him and said, "I do not want to be a memory. I want to be real. I want to stay." He did not speak. He only held her hand tighter. The wind outside grew strong. The stars looked sharper. Something was coming. But for that moment, they were together. Two lives from different worlds holding on to one small truth. That love, even strange and new, was worth everything. The cabin near the river was small and quiet. Trees stood tall around it, hiding it from the road. Inside, Serelith and Ethan lived like shadows. They cooked simple meals, read books, and listened to the sounds of nature. But peace did not last long. One night, a light filled the sky. It was not from Earth. Serelith stood outside, watching the stars. She whispered that her brother had arrived. His name was Vale. He was strong and cold, a leader of many ships. He had come to take her home. Ethan asked what they would do. Serelith said she would not go. But she also said Vale would not stop until she was found. He did not understand choice. He only knew duty. The next day, the cabin shook. A deep hum came from the sky. A ship, silent and black, landed in the forest. Trees bent under its power. Serelith looked at Ethan and said, "It is time." Vale stepped out of the ship with 5 others. They moved like smoke, fast and quiet. They found the cabin and surrounded it. Vale called her name. Serelith stepped outside. She wore simple clothes, but her voice was strong. She said she had chosen her path. She would not return. Vale said she was not allowed to choose. Her life belonged to the throne. Ethan came out beside her. He stood tall, though he was afraid. He told Vale that Serelith was free. She was not a prisoner. Vale raised his hand. One of his men fired a light beam. It hit the ground near Ethan's feet. Serelith shouted and stood in front of him. Ethan tried to protect her, but one of the soldiers pushed him down. He hit his head on a stone. Blood ran down his face. Serelith cried out and ran to him. She placed her hand on his chest. A soft light came from her palm. Ethan's breathing slowed. The wound began to close. Vale watched with anger. "You are throwing away your life," he said. Serelith looked up. "No," she said. "I am choosing it." Vale stepped forward, ready to take her by force. But Serelith stood and raised both hands. A wave of energy pushed the soldiers back. Trees cracked. The air turned hot. She looked at Vale. She said there was a way to end it. right, old and forgotten, that could make her human. But once done, it could not be undone. Vale laughed. You would give up immortality, he said. For him. Sarilith nodded. Yes, for him. For love. For freedom. She closed her eyes and began to speak words from her language. The ground shook. The sky turned red for a moment. Light wrapped around her body. She fell to her knees. When it was over, the glow was gone. Her skin looked fully human. Her power was gone. Vale stepped back. His ship lost power. The team's tools stopped working. They could not take her now. Sarilith looked up at Ethan. Her hands trembled. He helped her stand. She was weak, but her eyes were full of peace. Vale said nothing. He turned and walked back to his ship. The others followed. The ship rose and vanished into the clouds. Ethan and Sarilith stood in the quiet forest. The wind was soft again. Birds sang. She touched her chest. Her heart beat strong. Ethan whispered, "You did not have to do this." Sarilith smiled. "I wanted to. Now I know what it means to be alive." They walked back to the cabin. Their world had changed. Danger was still out there, but in that moment, they felt safe. Rain fell softly on the cabin roof. Staruth sat by the window, her eyes on the trees. Her body felt weak, but she was calm. Her glow was gone. She was human now. Ethan made tea in the small kitchen. He moved quietly. He looked at her often, making sure she was warm and safe. She smiled at him. He smiled back. Days passed slowly. Sarilith slept more. Her dreams were strange. She dreamed of stars, of voices calling her back. But she always woke in Ethan's arms. Claire brought food and medicine. She stayed longer now, helping clean and cook. She did not ask questions. She only said, "You're safe here." Sarilith began to change. She could feel pain. Her hands got cold. She needed sleep and food. These things were new, strange, but she did not complain. She said, "Now I understand humans." One evening, Sarilith sat by the fire. She told Ethan about the rite of transfer. It was old, almost forgotten. It allowed one being to give life to another. But the one who used it lost all their power. Forever. Ethan asked why she did it. Sarilith touched his hand. "'Cause you showed me what it means to live. Not just to exist, to feel, to choose, to care. That is worth more than 1,000 years." Outside in the woods, something moved. A black van stopped near the old greenhouse. Men in suits stepped out. They searched the area with devices. One of them was Agent Lyle. He looked at the empty greenhouse, saw strange energy marks on the walls. He picked up a small silver leaf. It turned to dust in his hand. He said to his team, "They're not gone. They're hiding." Back at the cabin, Sarilith felt a sharp pain in her head. She stood slowly. Ethan helped her sit. Her voice was low. "They are near." Ethan looked out the window. He saw nothing, but he trusted her. He and Claire packed bags quickly. Before they could leave, a knock came at the door. Ethan opened it slowly. Agent Lyle stood there. "We need to talk," Lyle said. Ethan let him in. Claire stayed close to Sarilith. Lyle looked at Sarilith with surprise. She looked human, pale, tired, quiet. Not the glowing being from the reports, he asked. "Are you still one of them?" No, Lith shook her head. "No, I gave it up." Lyle stared at her. He believed her. He saw the truth in her eyes. He turned to Ethan. "Do you understand what this means?" "There are people who won't stop. They'll want her for tests. For answers." Ethan said, "Then help us. Make them stop." Lyle looked at the fire. He was quiet for a moment, then he stood. "This file is closed. No one will come again. I'll make sure of it." He left without another word. Sarilith breathed out. Her shoulders relaxed. Ethan held her hand. That night the sky was clear. Stars filled the sky like diamonds. Sarilith sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket. Ethan sat beside her. "Do you miss it?" he asked. "Sometimes," she said, "but I would miss you more." He kissed her forehead. She closed her eyes. In the distance, the black van drove away. No one followed. No one came back. Sarilith was free. She had lost a world, but gained a life, a real life. And in that quiet night, she smiled not as a princess, not as an alien, but as a woman who chose love over eternity. Spring came early that year. Snow melted fast, and flowers grew outside the cabin. The air was fresh, and the days were longer. Serelith walked in the garden. Her steps were slow, but her eyes were bright. She wore simple clothes and a sun hat. She touched each flower gently, as if learning from them. Ethan worked nearby, fixing a small fence. He looked at her often. Every time he did, he smiled. He could not believe she had chosen this life. His life. They had moved to a small house farther from town. It was quiet and surrounded by trees. No one asked questions. Claire visited often. She brought books, seeds, and stories from town. One day, Serelith planted a new flower bed. She called it her beginning place. She said it was where she became human. She had changed. She felt pain sometimes. Her hands ached when she worked too long. She had caught a cold once and stayed in bed for 2 days, but she said it was all worth it. Ethan made a ring from a small silver coin. He gave it to her one evening as the sun set behind the trees. "Will you stay with me forever, as long as our forever lasts?" he asked. Serelith smiled. She said yes. They married in the garden, under the trees. Claire was there. A few neighbors watched from a distance, thinking it was just a small wedding. They were right. Serelith wore a dress she made by hand. Ethan wore his best shirt. They said their vows simply, with soft voices and full hearts. After the wedding, they sat by the fire. Serelith leaned on Ethan's shoulder. "Do you ever wonder what your life would be if I never came?" she asked. Ethan thought for a moment. Then he said, "I think I was waiting for something and I didn't even know." She nodded. "So was I." Time passed. Seasons changed. Serelith learned to cook, to paint, and to laugh in new ways. Ethan built a small greenhouse beside the house. He named it Serelith's Light. They never spoke of the past. It's not out of fear, but because they had so much in the present. One morning, Serelith sat with a little girl in the garden. The girl had brown hair and bright eyes. Serelith showed her how to plant a seed. "Push it gently," she said, "then cover it with love." The girl laughed. "You mean dirt?" Serelith smiled. "That too." Ethan watched them from the porch. He held a cup of tea and closed his eyes. The wind moved through the trees, just like the night she came. Far across the stars, the name Serelith was still spoken. Some called her lost, others called her a traitor, but a few, in quiet places, called her brave. And on Earth, in a house hidden by trees, a woman who once touched the stars now held the hand of a child. Not as a ruler, not as a legend, but as a mother. She'd given up the sky, but she'd found a world worth staying for. The world of love. The world of now.